Hi everyone, welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how to make a jackfruit biryani. It's called the Kathal Biryani. When I think of biryani, I just get excited. Sort of a child awakens in me because that's something that I love. When you eat this jackfruit biryani, you will only keep craving for this biryani. The texture from the jackfruit, absorbing all the spices that go into it, sauteed along with some caramelized onions, and then simmered and cooked in jeera samba rice. Yes, I like to use jeera samba. You can also use biryani rice, but since I'm making it in the pressure cooker, which I love because when you make jackfruit biryani in the pressure cooker, it sort of combines and cooks so beautifully. The flavors just come through like a bomb. Absolutely heavenly and tasty. So I have a whole jackfruit here with me, and our first step is to prep our jackfruit. I'm going to grease my palms with oil before I begin, and also grease the knife that you're using with oil as well, because jackfruit is really sticky when you cut. Next is peeling off the skin of the jackfruit. Just remove the cores and then we'll start peeling the skin. Go ahead and slice off the skin, and notice that when you slice it into half, there will be some milkiness from the jackfruit. You will have to keep greasing your palms with oil because it's going to be very sticky. Also grease the jackfruit edges as you keep cutting so that it becomes easier to slice. A good idea is to slice it lengthwise and then chop it into big chunks. Also ensure you have a bowl of water next to you because you'll keep adding the jackfruit pieces right into that. And adding it to salted water prevents the discoloration of jackfruit. Great, the jackfruit is chopped and all my ingredients are now prepped and kept. And I'm going to be cooking it in the pressure cooker. So the first thing is to add some ghee. Ghee is a very important ingredient that brings in the flavor and taste of a biryani. I'm going to add in the thinly sliced onions. We're going to saute this until it becomes lightly caramelized. We're going to add in the garlic, green chilies, and the ginger. Give all of this a stir and saute it until the onions become nice and soft, lightly browned and lightly caramelized. So it's about 5 minutes it took to nicely soften the onions and lightly brown them, and this is just perfect. At this stage, I'm going to add in the whole spices to the onion mixture. Okay, so I have some maize, which is javitri, cinnamon, star anise, cloves, which is long, cardamom, badi elaichi, and bay leaves. I'm just going to add all of them into it. Give it a stir for about a minute until the aromas come through of all the spices. Add in the tomatoes. Saute the tomatoes until it becomes nice and mushy. Now that the tomatoes have softened, I'm going to go ahead and add in the red chili powder, coriander powder, some nutmeg, and a large pinch of saffron. Just going to add it in. I love adding saffron to biryanis because it brings in a great flavor addition. Flavors. Now is the time to add in our cut jackfruit. I just drained out the water that we had soaked it in, and the curd, which is going to add in again to the little bit of tanginess of the biryani, and the mint leaves, and finally the salt, and give it a stir. Oh, look at that, just beautiful. The colors and the flavors, it's all coming through. The pudina, the spices, the onions, ginger, garlic, brilliant. And that's it. Now I'm telling you, once the onions are softened, it's just, and the jackfruit is chopped, it's just adding one after the other and everything will just get done. God, cooking can be that simple. It is. The rice that is washed and kept, okay? Now you don't need to soak this rice at all. Just simply add it in. So for every cup of rice, I add about 2 cups of water, but I've added 2 cups of rice here. I already added some curd, so which just has some moisture. So I'm going to add 1.5. So which is essentially 3 cups of water. Do you know how to check whether the salt is right for a biryani, and then you suddenly cook and then check whether the salt is enough? Oh, there was less salt. Oh, I should add salt. And then you add salt over a biryani. It never comes out right. To check whether the salt is right now. Just taste the water, because the water is just going to get absorbed into the rice, the jackfruit. I think it's just perfect. Maybe a little bit more salt is what is needed. Just going to go ahead and add that in. And at this stage, I also like adding another tablespoon of ghee. So when you mix the biryani rice, it just comes out beautifully. We're going to cover the pressure cooker, cook it on high heat for about 2 whistles, and then turn the heat to low, simmer it for about 3 to 4 minutes and turn off the heat. And after that, we will allow the pressure to release naturally. Wait for about at least 20 minutes till the pressure is released, and then your biryani will be done and we'll open it. But in the meanwhile, we're going to be caramelizing the onions for the garnish, and as well as some cashew nuts to give it that extra touch and richness. So first I'm going to roast the cashew nuts and the raisins and then keep it aside, and then we'll caramelize our onions. So into a pan, I'm just going to add in some ghee and allow it to melt. First roast the cashew nuts until they become golden brown and crisp on all the sides. Takes about 5 minutes on low to medium heat. After that, we will add the raisins, and once they puff up, we'll keep it to the side. Okay, so the cashew nuts are just beautifully roasted. Some of them have got a little overdone, but that's okay. Go ahead and add the raisins quickly and turn off the heat. So as soon as you notice the raisins are puffing up, notice the color is changing. In that heat, I've turned off the heat and it's puffing, and that's beautiful. Wonderful. So I'm just going to go ahead and transfer this to my bowl, keep this aside. And now I'm going to caramelize the onions, and now this will take a good 30 minutes to get done. And to the same pan, I'm going to add in some oil, add in a lot of thinly sliced onions. The onions, you will notice that how much ever you add these onions, once they're caramelized, they will just shrink and they will just become like a tablespoon or so. This is about 2 large onions. In the beginning, till it softens, you can keep it at high heat, and after that, turn the heat to low to medium, and then keep stirring it intermittently for about every minute to ensure that they get evenly caramelized. Okay, so it's been about half an hour, and notice how beautifully the onions have crispened, and allow it to rest for another 10 minutes after it was done, and allowed it to cool, and it's got a beautiful texture. This is great. Now I'm ready to open the biryani and see how it's come out, and after that we'll put all of them together. Okay, let's open the biryani. It's been resting for a good half an hour now, actually. Oh, look at that. Isn't that brilliant? Ooh, flavors of star anise and the whole spices that we have added. That's the beauty of adding whole spices and not pounding them. Just the perfect amount of water. And the trick is to allow it to rest after it's turned off, because that's a very important step. Now, before we actually do anything more, I'm just going to go ahead and add in my cashew nuts and raisins. And another thing that I'm going to add in is the chopped mint leaf. And I just quickly chopped some up, lots of it, because mint leaves while cooking as well as mint leaves after it's done is extremely critical, because the fresh herbs do add a brilliant flavor to a dish. That's it. Your biryani is done now. How do you like that? I hope I have simplified it enough and given you all the tips to make a perfect biryani. And now when I'm ready to serve it, just going to garnish this with the top and then lightly toss it up. Okay, I'm ready to take a bite and taste it. Brilliant flavors. Look at that saffron. I'm getting a cashew nut. Such brilliant taste and flavors. Salt, did I tell you? Just perfect. So taste the salt in the water, and that's when you know the biryani has a good amount of salt. As a perfect salt, because if this water is just the salt that you need, the biryani will be perfect. And finally, what is a biryani without a raita, right? I'm going to be serving this biryani along with some raita, which has some cucumber, onion, and tomato. I'm going to add in some green chilies. All of them are chopped finely. We'll add in the curd, the dahi, and some salt to taste, and cumin powder. And that's it. Your raita is ready. Just mix it all up. You can add more dahi to make it more creamy. And that's homemade curd out there. All the malai on the top. And just give it a stir, and the raita is ready too. So I really hope you enjoyed watching this recipe, how to make a Kathal Biryani or the jackfruit biryani. Wasn't that simple? Using the jeera samba rice, also called as jeera rice, is a very flavorful rice that we often use to make pulaus and biryanis in the south. and brings out the rich taste and flavor and absorbs all the spices beautifully. It's got a nice texture. It is not too grainy that it's dry on the mouth, but it has the right amount of starchiness. You know, I love starch in my food and my rice, so the starchiness is just so beautiful. It's wonderful. So I really hope you get to try this recipe in your kitchen. When you do, don't forget to share your feedback in the comments below because I would love to hear back from you. And yes, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the bell icon right there because you will get to see these recipes week on week so that you can be a better cook in your kitchen and serve your family and friends some great food. So until then, until next time, happy cooking and healthy eating.